Hello and welcome to Clay to Canopy, the show where I attempt to make just about everything from the ground up. This is the first project video in the Woodland Feast series. This footage I shot back in 2020 when the Woodland Feast was nothing more than a ceramic place setting. I guess it's like a serving set inspired by woodland creatures. So I'm going to be rolling some old footage in this video, and this is what's going to kick off this Woodland Feast. So come on, let's do this. So apparently I did not talk during any of this old footage, so I am going to commentate. I took this big shiny egg that I found at Target and covered it in some newspaper so I could use it for a mold. And here's where I beat the crap out of my clay while the little man napped. I used the rolling pin to roll out a slab, and then bam, popped it on my mold. After some highly technical cutting, smacking, and smoothing, I used my favorite pine cone to make this dragon-like texture. I did some final shaping and then set this piece aside to stiffen up. To emulate a log, I used this floral canister, covered it in some newspaper, and wrapped a slab around it. Once I finished blending, I'd set this piece aside also because it was too soft to start carving until it got to the leather hard stage. And now we'll pause to enjoy this Princess Victoria moment. This next piece I think is my favorite component of the entire serving set. I was inspired by the beaver habitat. I wanted to emulate the logs that would have served at the top part. I knew I would be incorporating some glass to represent the water, and finally a second basin that would become a rocky area. So this is a two-part piece, and for the first part of the top, I spent a lot of time carving pieces of clay to look like bits of log and wood that had been possibly harvested by these creatures and utilized to create a dome-like structure. I returned to the log shape so I could begin adding texture. This is one of the first techniques I ever learned how to emulate wood using the wire brush, a needle tool, whatever pointy sharp objects I could find to create grain or bark-like striations. The last piece I needed to create was the bottom half of the beaver habitat. This time I used a bucket for my shaping. This was going to be a rock-like structure to simulate a river bottom, but I also knew that this was going to be a salad bowl, so I needed to make sure that I left a cavity for that purpose. For the rocks, I balled up tiny pieces of clay and attached them to my base. I designed the egg to be a 3-course service set. I was going to be stacking a bowl and 2 different plates inside the egg, so I needed to make the components for that. I made some plates and a couple of risers to stack in between. With all of my parts complete, it was time for the first firing. After the first firing, also known as the bisque firing, this high fire clay is at a softer stage before the final firing. So I took the opportunity to do any sanding and getting rid of any blemishes, bits of clay that might have gotten stuck that I just wasn't happy with. This took quite a bit of time. I was paying especially close attention to the risers that would be stacking inside of the egg to make sure that everything was going to be level. With the sanding complete, all that was left to do was apply my glaze and give it its last firing. Here are the final pieces. I knew I'd be incorporating some glass and some other elements, and whenever you're working with ceramics and another material, because of shrinkage rate, it's always best to take care of the ceramic components first. Alright y'all, I hope you enjoyed watching this really old footage. Stick around to watch me make the glass parts and the table and all the other parts of the environment. Like, share, and subscribe if you have not done so already, and I hope to see you soon.